All right, today on Next Steps, we're going to be talking with the Church of the Heartland, Mr. Hagin himself, and we're going to be discussing how ministry is done in the Starke County area.
Today we're going to be talking about outreach in Starke County, the awesome congregations of Starke County, and going to prom with Mr. Malachi himself.
Hey, welcome to Next Steps with Bible Baptist Church. I'm here today with my guest friend, Hagin. Hagin, how you doing?
Doing very good. Thank you for having me here today. It's an honor and a privilege to be here just in the room with y'all. Love this time.
Hagin is part of a kind of unique organization, a unique church, Church of the Heartland.
Yeah.
Winnemac.
Yeah, our main campus is Winnemac, and started there, and we have 7 different campuses in northwestern Indiana.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the confusing things that sometimes people have.
Yeah.
There's a Heartland in North Judson at the Carpenter's Yard.
Yes.
Are they connected with you guys, or is that a different?
That is a different Heartland.
Okay.
And they're a multi-site too. It's funny, out of Valparaiso. So
Yes.
It's not the same organization. I love what they're doing over there, but we get each other confused for each other all the time. Like I went to Heartland, I was like, man, I've never seen you before in my life. Like, but it's one of those things like, oh, I think it's and then
It's not the Hatfields and McCoys, is it?
no, nothing like that.
All right. And so you work with your dad or for your dad.
Yeah.
And how long has your dad been at the Heartland?
He's been in ministry, I think he's in 20 plus years now. I think he just went over his 20th year, maybe a year or two ago. So he started as a young guy, went to Bible college out in California, and then came back. And then my grandfather really started what we know as Church of the Heartland. It was a different name in Winnemac. Years and years ago, and they started right where First Source Bank is, downtown Winnemac.
Okay.
So they started on the second floor there, and he moved from Tulsa. He was part of a very large church down there, but one of the first mega churches down in Tulsa, Victory Christian Center down there in Tulsa. And he came here. He's from here, and so he said, feeling called to come back home and start a church. So he started in Winnemac, and then just over the years, we've seen opportunities to start churches, grow churches. And I believe it was 2005 is when we all kind of came together as one big organization, Church of the Heartland. So.
Well, it's awesome, and man, it's awesome to go by the building in Winnemac, and it seems like I had never seen the inside, but from the outside looking in, it looks like a beautiful church.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then I was by your church in Starke County a couple days ago, and the parking lot was full. So you must have had a special event or something going on?
Yeah. We try to have, we try to get people in, obviously, in our doors for a lot of different reasons, just to share the good news that we've got. This past Sunday we had our candy wars, is what we call it.
Okay.
So we do men versus women, to donate our candies for our indoor trunk or treat. You guys did a trunk or treat, which is awesome. I loved you guys seeing how much success came from your trunk or treat, reaching out to this community. And so we do ours on Halloween night.
Okay.
But we have our congregation try to raise money or candy for it. So the best way to do that is compete with each other.
Yeah.
And so we do men versus women, and we had over 400 pounds donated from our church.
Wow.
And it was just cool. And then I gotta be honest, the ladies won, and they all got a special kind of surprise and a prize for that. So
Spa day?
Yeah, no, it was actually, if I can be honest, it was these T-shirts
that
I stole from my wife today.
Well, there you go.
If I can be real honest. So, yeah.
I like that. I think we should get T-shirts for our church.
There you go.
I just don't know how to do the logo yet. Church of the Heartland, you kind of got this really cool logo, and I've been working with the B and the C, BBC, but I just can't get it down yet to something I like. But we're working on it. We're getting there. So, we can talk about logos, talk about T-shirts and candy, but I think both of our ministries are aiming for the people in Starke County.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the unique things that the Church of the Heartland has done to kind of get people to come in?
We try our very best, and we stole this from Chris Hodges, Church of the Highlands down in Alabama. It was just a great quote. We will do anything short of sin to bring people into see what Jesus is about. We'll do anything short of sin to show them. So, for Easter, we do this. We do an Easter kind of egg hunt, but we literally just drop the candy from a helicopter. And that's just one of those things, like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you guys do that?
Yeah.
Well, if it brings somebody that's never heard Scripture, who's never experienced Jesus, never experienced a church service, come in and see for the first time, like, what is this? That is why we do all that we do. That one and our Halloween trunk or treat is probably our biggest outreaches to our community. But we do those just to be like, hey, we support our community. We want you guys to have fun in our community, but we want you to show you the love of Christ that we have.
Yeah, that's awesome. We tried to steal your helicopter this past year.
Hey, did you?
Yeah, we were hoping that en route somewhere we could 10-4 big guy up there, turn around and come to this piece of property,
right.
but it didn't work out that way. But man, I'm always excited to hear about the helicopter drop. I'm excited about churches like ours doing trunk or treat, and Paul said, "I have become all things to all people for the gospel of Christ." Now, outside of sin, that opens up the door for a whole lot of opportunity.
Right.
Hey, you're kind of coming into ministry in the essence of this is kind of your infancy stage. I know you worked with your dad and you worked with other churches. You traveled in college.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm on the tail end of mine. I don't think of that at all, but I would hopefully say I'm midstream. But I think we could bring in a lot of things together as far as here's somebody who has insight, who hasn't experienced some things yet, and then here's some things that I think I can offer that has been experienced. But I always like the fresh take of young people like yourself and come in and, hey, I like this idea, and you think, I never thought of that one before. And I think the older we get in ministry, sometimes we think, I wonder which family that's going to affect the most. And so I remember coming in to our church, and I introduced the idea of trunk or treat the first time, and it went over pretty horribly. It was looked at as not the way to go. It was a compromise on some things, and unfortunately, we had to work through that. And what the church was doing had to fail first before the new idea could come in with the trunk or treat. And once the old idea failed, the new idea was accepted. And a lot of that had to do with some people coming in that were younger. Some people came in. Some of the more mature Christians in our church were like, hey, you know what? Let's try it. What's the worst can happen? The other idea is not working at all. So have you ran into anything like that?
Yeah, we try, for our very best, we try to have a culture of just, we try our best to do everything and all for that. So for us in our church kind of circumstances, we throw out ideas like, we're thinking about doing this. We have these things called dream team meetings where we just kind of give out our ideas as the leaders and the staff of the church. Like, here's what we're thinking about doing. Does anybody want to help with this? Or anybody got any ways to grow this? And so people jump in on that. But there's been times where they're like, no, I don't think we're going to be ready for that. And we'll be like, okay, well, if we're not ready for that, we can try it another time. But we're a big fan of, trying it first and then killing it later. We as a form of, especially events and outreaches, we have a phrase in our office that it's we put Old Yeller down many times when it's like, well, this thing's not working. All right, time to put Old Yeller down, and then we start something new, which is, it's kind of a terrible way of saying that, but it's but it kind of gets you an idea of like,
I love that movie until Old Yeller had to be put down.
Everybody who's seen Old Yeller is just like, you can just say that commonly. Yeah, we do. We fail many times.
He was going to kill the kid.
Yeah. And so we fail many times,
Yes.
and we're okay with that. And then we go on to the next thing. That's
John Maxwell says failures are initial steps to success.
Yes.
I think back about this whole idea of, we kind of call it whiteboard thinking when we do things or brainstorming, and what's going to work, what's not going to work. I've been working on something about, and I shared with the church yesterday. I said, this is the infancy stage of my ideas here, but I wanted to share it in the beginning, not just come out to the church and say, hey, by the way, we're going to be doing this differently because, I've been thinking about this for the past 6 months. So I was thinking about, are we doing church? Are we having church? Are we being the church? And I think sometimes people think, well, I'm going to church, not realizing they're the church. And how do we get people into a mindset that when they come into the house of God, whether Church of the Heartland, Bible Baptist, another church in our Starke County area, that it's really about God? And I think, some of the things you've talked about, and mentioned is like, what can we do to get people to Jesus? And I think about what is our church service, and I'm talking about mine specifically, are we funneling people to Jesus in a very specific, purposeful way to make sure that when they leave, they don't say, wow, I love the music, and they may have, or I love the sermon, and they may have, but their number one comment is, I met with Jesus today. And are there some things that the Church of the Heartland's trying to do to kind of aim toward that?
We had a sermon series years and years ago called a Battleship, kind of like the board game, and we talked about the difference between a cruise ship and a battleship and the state of the church. Battleships are always, everybody has a man for their job. They got this bunker where they're at, and they'll have times where I'm resting in this time and I'm getting back to work in the morning. And then cruise ships are the opposite of that, where I'm doing whatever I want all the time. I'm sitting and relaxing. I'm kind of going wherever we're going. Don't really care where we're going, but I'm landing there. The battleship is I know where we're going. I know the task. And that was really our goal for our church, that we're a battleship church. Our congregations, our leaders, we're ready to go at a moment's notice to go serve in whatever way we can. And we can go into that ready to go, instead of having that cruise ship spirit of, the people in our church are just like, well, we're here at church and I'm doing it. I'm sailing to the end of the service and then I'm going to go. Usually it's Christos or, Country Kettle after service.
Yep.
We're going to push our congregation to kind of be that battleship church of kind of just to reach out to our community. And there's the church in Paul talks about, where they all come together. They get rejuvenated at the church, and then they disperse into their families and friends, and that's their church grew exponentially doing that. Yeah. And that was really kind of that was Herb's vision, my grandfather's vision of what our churches needed to be. It's okay, we're getting rejuvenated here at our church. Okay, we're getting ready for the week, and then I'm sharing what I've learned. I've shared what I've gotten. I've got the Spirit of the Lord over me for this whole week to go share with my friends and family that are not in that circumstance. Yeah. And that right there, that has been our mission statement or our goal for our congregation altogether.
That's awesome. I go by your church more often in Starke County than I do one in Winnemac. But one of the things I notice about the outdoor part of your church is typically you have a poster board of some sort of like a sermon series. Yeah. I don't remember the exact title of the one what's out there now.
What Would Jesus Do is our sermon series right now. We're going back to the 90s. Yeah,
90s, wow.
That's right.
That's when I graduated high school, man. Yeah. That's scary.
And we had a joke. I was born in 98 that if you were born between 95 and 99, you were born with the What Would Jesus Do bracelet right out the womb.
Yeah, you probably was.
Yeah, yes. That's right. So I kind of going back to the 90s and going, what would Jesus do?
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. I think that's an awesome idea. One of the things we're trying to do is trying to get a digital board out here on 35, and would love to be able to just capture people's attention. And I think your church does a great job of that with those bulletin boards of what would Jesus do, and there have been some other ones that. And is that something your church does? Do you guys order it through like a company on the internet?
Yeah, we order it through, I think it's literally called like cheapgraphics.com or something like that. Yeah. It's like a really
cheap
funny
banners.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Like cheapbanners.com.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So we cheap banners it, and then we just kind of had these posts, and it's just little boards there that we screw into. And it's one of my tasks as on staff there that I get to change that. And actually, what I'm doing later today, I am going. The trunk or treat one's still up. I got to take that one down, put this one up. Okay. And
do you reuse them, or do you guys just order new ones?
It depends. So trunk or treat one we'll keep because we use it as a revolving one. Yeah. But we usually just get new ones. But if you're painting, it is the best painting tarp for on the ground of all time. It's kind of heavy duty. You don't trip over it easily. Yeah. So we've learned a thing or two to do with these giant, 6 foot ones. So,
I've always been impressed with the Church of the Heartland, and really from an outsider's perspective. Can you kind of just probably most people listening today are people probably more familiar with my style as a pastor, my style with our church service. What's a service look like when you come into the Church of the Heartland?
So for us here, we try to have a pretty high energy for us. So we have some music bumping in the background. We do 4 songs of worship and then go into our announcements and then our teaching. And our teaching, we try to make it as applicable to every single person in the room as possible. I don't know who Jesus is. That person can still get some from the sermon. Or somebody, I'm a Bible-believing Christian, I'm a prayer warrior for 40 plus years. They can still grab something. So our teaching style, we try to have something applicable every single time that you can walk away with at the end of service. That's kind of our teaching way, which is pretty similar to what you do if I watch on your Facebook Live.
Yeah, and I think Starke County is such a unique area. I've been here 17 plus years, going into my 18th year. You were born in this county, is that correct?
Yeah, I was born.
So you graduated Starke County School, Knox?
No, officially I'm homeschooled. I was homeschooled, but
that
I
explains a
hung with
lot.
Malachi, and my wife introduced Malachi and I. So I always hung out with, like, I was like the unofficial Knox student. I was going to I went to prom with Malachi and everything like that. And
No, hold on. Let's retract that a little
Yeah.
bit. You went to prom with Taylor, right?
yes,
Okay,
my wife,
just to
Taylor.
make sure.
No.
Okay.
Malachi tried to ask me, but Taylor had already asked at that point.
He's
so-
always a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah, that's
I'll
right.
tell you
That's
what,
right.
so-
No, my wife Taylor.
Yeah.
Asked me.
So you dated your high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
Married her.
Yes.
Did she attend church with you? At
Yeah,
the time?
so we actually met. It's funny how we met. We met literally in the preschool that was at the church. Like literally, like at 4 or 5, we kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
I lived in South Bend for a few years, for about 7 or 8 years, and then moved back into the area here. And then she was still attending the church here, and then we kind of hung out in middle school, and then high school we kind of just started dating, and then I proposed in college, and then got married after I graduated, and now we have a kid, and. Yeah, it's a relationship of 20-something years in the making, but yeah.
That's amazing. I remember you and Taylor going on a youth event with me once. I don't know if you recall that, but she broke her knee.
Yeah, tore her meniscus. Yeah, it was like one of my first dates with her, and I don't even know if we might have been dating at the time, but it was like we're kind of talking.
It was fresh into
It was very fresh, and
Yeah.
it was me and my friend. It was Malachi was there, and like, okay, let's go down this slide, and we went down, and I don't remember hearing it, but I just turn around because okay, that was fun. I turn around, and Taylor's just sitting there with just like little tears down her eyes. I'm like, what's going on? What's it? And that was she tore her meniscus right there and then, and yeah, it was. Everything's all right now. There's nothing wrong with it now. But got
You guys
all
need
surgery.
marital counseling for that before you got
No,
married?
yeah,
Okay.
no, I don't know, but no marital counseling for the first date, tore meniscus.
Okay.
But
It's a story that will be told one day from the sermon from the pulpit.
it's got to be in the notes somewhere.
That's right.
Like
It has to
pull
come
it out
out
of the
at some
jar.
point.
This is a good one. Use this one.
So, obviously being fresh in ministry
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. What is some of your what do you consider your teaching style like?
I try to be as I'm a younger guy, and I know I'm not going to have the energy that I'm going to have in 30, 40 years. So I try to be a little bit more aggressive in my teaching style as a way. But for our teaching style, I take after my dad a lot. I try to get as much, information into their hearts and minds in the 30 minutes, 40 minutes we've got in teaching.
Yeah.
So, okay, I've got all this information. How do I send it out? And we have kind of a cool model to do that we learned from Pastor Mark Royer, that was part of Crossroads Community Church in South Bend. He taught us this, that we have a scripture that we look at, and then we go through all the ideas of what happened through it. And so what would Jesus do is a good example of this. We're going through, I think in the next few weeks, we're going to be going through how he mourns Lazarus' death, and then again, he raises him from the dead, and all the things that go with that, and how human he was, and how also God he was.
Sure.
And so it's always looking at, this passage of scripture, going through it into very, very detailed, and then kind of splitting it apart and then bring it back together again. And how do we apply those to our lives, or how did Jesus react? That's how we react.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my teaching style altogether.
Well, that's really good, and I really appreciate coming on our podcast this morning, and appreciate Church of Heartland and what they're doing in Starke County. There are a lot of things that people can say about Starke County, and people bring up maybe some negative things sometimes, like, well, the illiteracy rate's this in Starke County, or the economy is this in Starke County. But I think we got really good people.
I've always said I love the people of Starke County. They are the most loyal, honorable people that you'll ever want to meet. And I love, and when you walk into Starke County, walk into a restaurant, you immediately it feels like home for a lot of people. It's a very home style county, and I love this county. And I could have had the opportunity to be anywhere. After college, I could have gone a different job, but I really felt like being home. This is where I was meant to be, where I wanted to be.
And I think people say, well, there's bigger churches, there's bigger cities, there's bigger opportunities. But, and I was sharing this with Malachi at one time, at what point can you get into the schools? At what point can you get into businesses? At what point can you be in this community? If I was in Fort Wayne, which is my home city, I don't know. I'm not saying I wouldn't have influence. I just don't know if I'd have the same type of influence. And I feel like Starke County, maybe because of the size and because of opportunity, it's a totally different influence. And I'm just like, it's hard for me to think, well, let me go to a different church. And let's just say it's, for argument's sake, let's say it's a bigger church and they're going to offer bigger pay or whatever. But what's the influence for Christ? And I guess that's what I always come back to. It's kind of my grounding for me is, okay, what influence am I going to have in this bigger city, bigger opportunity, bigger whatever that I'm not having here? And is that something that you've kind of weighed in a little bit?
In my own, professional life, I worked in college admissions. I worked in higher education in Scylla. And so it was always going on to the next big thing for that. I'm going to this college. Now I'm going to this college. I'm going to this college. And there's nothing, wrong with that in that field. But I know for myself in the ministry, I couldn't imagine myself doing this anywhere else but here. You know what I mean? Could I do it? Probably. But I don't think I would be as effective. I know these people, and these people know, we're from the same ideas. I raised the same way. Yeah. These people here, I just feel I can connect so easily with.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think sometimes people, and you bring up Ansel a little bit, and I think that could be true of almost any position, because a lot of young people graduating from college today is, I want to go to the biggest, greatest, most hyped church there is.
Yeah.
And I know when we were looking for a youth pastor at one time, people say, where are you at? And say, Knox. Well, how far is Walmart?
Yeah.
Well,
30 minutes.
30 minutes one way, 40 minutes the other. And like, I want a Walmart within 10. And there's like this criteria that when you come to Starke County, you just got to understand, if you don't want to shop at one of our local businesses, you're going to travel 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending upon where you want to go there. But I share that, but I'm like, that's well worth it to me.
Yeah.
Because of the influence and the opportunity to share Christ with people. And I feel like that's probably your guys' heartbeat too. I talked with your dad a few times, and he seems to have that same heartbeat as well. And so I just say, let's just keep on doing it and seeing what God will do through that.
And I'm sure it's the same way. If the Lord tells me, get up out of here and go to wherever you're supposed to go to, I'm going there. But right now, my heart is set, and I think the Lord's calling me to be here in this community, in this county. And I love these people for all they are and everything that we have, and whether that takes a couple more minutes to go get a Walmart or anything like that, I'm all right with that. I can do that.
Hey, wherever there's a Chili's, I'm all right.
That's right. You got Plymouth, and they got I don't know if Plymouth has a Chili's yet. They have Applebee's.
Oh my word! I knew you were gonna bring that up.
No,
that's a Starke County misinformation right there.
It's the colors. They confuse me. I think there's a green and a red. That's.
My son says they're the same thing, and we almost have a church split over it. I'm going to tell you right now. But all seriousness, Hagin, I appreciate you being on our podcast today. And we do pray for the Church of the Heartland and pray that God just blesses, and pray for us as well. We'll look forward to what God does in both our ministries.
Yeah, and I again, thank you for having me on the podcast. We are rooting for y'all, over there at Church of the Heartland. You guys are doing some incredible things, reaching the people of Starke County who need Jesus. We're just rooting for you, hand and foot over here, just over there at Church of the Heartland.
Well, good deal. If someone don't like your service, send them our way.
Yeah. I need a little bit more Baptist. All right, go down this way. There we go.
Hey, you want the strange people, go to Bible Baptist or whatever, right? So, but no, all kidding aside, man, thank you for that, and we're rooting for you guys as well. And I think one of the keys about this is not competing, but reaching.
Yeah.
You're going to reach a people that your church, your dad, your talents, your gifts are going to reach people that I'm not going to be able to reach. And it might be the vice versa for me as well. And there may be people who can go either direction, but there are going to be certain people out there who only want to go to the Church of the Heartland because of the gifts and talents there. And that may be true of Bible Baptist. And but I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as a good thing. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Next Steps. And we just encourage you to continue to support your local church. And we look forward to next week's podcast. Thank you.